I'm 82 years old, and I'm saying this out loud for the first time, because I don't have much time left to pretend I'll get to it later. Most mornings now, I wake up before the sun, not because I want to, but because my body doesn't let me sleep the way it used to. The house is quiet, too quiet, and in that quiet, things I delayed for decades finally speak back to me. I used to think love was something you could schedule, something you could return to once the important things were handled. Work finished, bills paid, stability achieved. I believed love would wait patiently in the corner, like a coat you hang up when you're busy, confident it'll be there when you're ready to put it back on. It doesn't work that way. I know that now. I didn't know it when it mattered. I'm not telling this because I need forgiveness. Most of the people I owe explanations to are gone, or so far away that my voice wouldn't reach them even if I tried. I'm telling this because if I don't, these thoughts will die with me, and that feels like another postponement I can't afford. When you're my age, time doesn't feel like a river anymore. It feels like a puddle that's slowly drying up. You can see the bottom now. You can count what's left. I wasn't careless in my life. That's the strange part. I was responsible, dependable, the kind of man people trusted. I showed up to work on time. I kept promises. I paid for what I owed. From the outside, my life looked solid, respectable. Inside, though, there were quiet absences. Conversations I meant to have. Affection I meant to show. Apologies I planned to offer once things settled down. Things never settled down. In my 20s, I was full of plans. Not dreams exactly. Plans. Practical ones. I wanted to build something steady. I grew up watching instability tear people apart, and I promised myself I wouldn't live that way. Love, to me back then, felt like a luxury item. Important, sure, but secondary. Something you earned after you proved yourself useful. I met her when I was 27. I won't say her name here. It still feels private, even now. She laughed easily, not loudly, just enough to let you know she was paying attention. She liked simple things. Walks after dinner, sitting close without talking much. She was patient with me. Too patient, as it turns out. She wanted time, not grand gestures, not promises about the future. Just time. Evenings that weren't rushed. Weekends that weren't postponed. Presence. I kept telling her, after this project, after things calm down, after we're more secure. I truly believed I was doing it for us. In my 30s, work became my language. It was how I showed care. Long hours, extra responsibility. I thought providing was the same as loving. When she'd sigh or grow quiet, I'd tell myself she didn't understand the pressure. That one day, she'd thank me. We didn't fight much. That's another thing people get wrong. The real damage doesn't always come from shouting. Sometimes it comes from silence stretching too long. From meals eaten half listening. From stories cut short because the phone rang. There were birthdays I was late to. Anniversaries I acknowledged quickly before heading back to the office. Evenings where she sat across from me, waiting for me to look up. I always meant to make it up to her. I just never picked a day. By my 40s, we were still together, but something had thinned. Like a photograph left in the sun too long. The outlines were there, but the color had faded. We functioned well, paid the mortgage, attended family events, smiled in photos, but the warmth had cooled. Not dramatically, quietly. I noticed it in small ways. She stopped asking when I'd be home. She stopped saving stories for me. She went to bed before I did, not angry, just tired. One night, she said very calmly, "I feel like I'm waiting for a version of you that never arrives." I remember nodding. I remember saying I understood. I remember thinking I had time to fix it. That sentence still sits with me. Not because it was cruel, but because it was accurate. The cost of postponing love isn't paid all at once. It's paid in fragments. missed chances, slight distances that grow wider while you're busy looking elsewhere. Eventually, she left. Not in a storm. No slammed doors. Just a conversation and a suitcase. She said she didn't want to wake up at 60 and realize she'd spent her life waiting. I told her I understood. I told her I wished her well. I told myself I'd learn from it. Then I went back to work. Life moved on. It always does. New routines. New faces. Fewer expectations. I told myself some people just aren't meant for lasting love. That I was built differently. Better suited for solitude. That it didn't bother me. That was a lie I repeated often enough that it almost sounded true. Years passed. Promotions came. Responsibilities grew. People congratulated me. I was invited to retirement parties, weddings, celebrations. I attended politely. Left early. Drove home alone. I dated, here and there. Nothing deep. I kept things light. I didn't want complications. Or maybe I didn't want mirrors. Then came the turning point. Not dramatic. Just unavoidable. A phone call. An illness. Not hers. Mine. The doctor spoke carefully, the way they do when they don't want to frighten you but don't want to lie either. He talked about time in estimates. Months. Maybe years. Depends. I walked out of that office feeling oddly calm. And then, in the parking lot, something collapsed inside me. Not fear of death. Fear of emptiness. That night, I sat in my living room and realized there was no one to call. No one waiting to hear the news. No one whose hand I could reach for without explaining myself first. That's when the clarity arrived. Lake, clean, unforgiving. I hadn't failed at love. I delayed it until it expired. There are things you can't fix at this age. You can't rewind conversations. You can't show up retroactively. You can't become present in moments that have already ended. I sometimes imagine what it would have been like if I'd chosen differently. Not wildly differently. Just slightly. Leaving work an hour earlier. Listening without checking the time. Saying, "This matters," and meaning it. Those thoughts don't comfort me. They don't torture me either. They just sit there, like facts. Now, my days are slow. I drink my coffee carefully. I watch the light move across the floor. People check in on me. Nurses. Old colleagues. Distant relatives. They're kind. But kindness isn't the same as being known. Love, real love, requires urgency. Not panic. Presence. It needs to be chosen while it's still alive, not honored after it's gone. If you're listening to this and you're younger, I won't tell you what to do. I don't have that right. I'll just tell you what I wish someone had told me, plainly, without drama. Love doesn't wait for you to be ready. It doesn't care about your plans. It doesn't pause while you prove yourself worthy of it. If you keep postponing it, one day you'll wake up with plenty of time and no one to share it with. I don't regret working hard. I regret confusing effort with presence. I regret thinking affection could be rescheduled. There are moments now when I feel grateful. I've lived a long life. I've seen things, learned things. But gratitude and sorrow can sit in the same room. They often do. I don't have many years left. I know that. I'm not afraid of the end. I'm afraid of the quiet before it. So I'm saying this now, out loud, because it's the last honest thing I can offer. Love should never be postponed. If this meant something to you, sit with it for a moment. You don't need to rush anywhere. Just don't wait forever. That's all I have left to say.